Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 44th episode of the Ken Matias Sports Podcast. I have Boston Herald sports editor and reporter on the high school side, Danny Ventura. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thanks. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you coming on. I know we were gonna come on a couple weeks ago, but obviously things happen, and I'm glad things are well now. So,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. So, like I said, just speak about your career, what made you get into the industry, so long ago, and go for it.
I mean, to me, the funny thing is, this is not what I've envisioned doing.
Hmm.
When I get out of school in my dream job would have been to do like a sports talk show host. In the old days would have been like an Eddie Andelman, Glenn Ordway.
Hmm.
If you relate it to today, it would be more like a Mike Felger type.
Yep.
That's what I always envisioned. But back then, there wasn't a market for it at the time. And the funny thing is, a friend of mine happened to work in the Dedham area. He saw an ad in the paper, in the local newspaper, the Daily Transcript, looking for a part-time sports writer. I mean, I had no experience at all. They said, it's a two game tryout. It was $50. I honestly figured the way I looked at it was like, worst case scenario, I'm going to make $50 here. I covered two games. I can remember tell you how old it was. It was Walpole, Framingham North, and Framingham North no longer exists. So
Hmm.
they merged into Framingham. And then the next night was Zavarian BC High Hockey. So I do the two stories. I figure, that's the last I'm ever going to hear from them. At the end of the second thing, my boss at the time, Hank Hernowitz, who I've always said is the most influential person in this business for me, pulled me aside. He says, "Look, you are rough around the edges." I said, "I think you're being kind." And we both laughed. He says, "But I do see potential. Would you be interested in a part-time job here?" I said, "Yeah, sure. What the heck?" At that time, I'm just looking, I'm going to make a few bucks here. And it is
Yeah.
sports. So, I mean, be a lot of things, worse things than that.
Hmm.
So, I gradually, worked my way up. I became a full-time writer there. I was there for 4 years. The first 3 years were great. What happened is, as the guy I mentioned, Hank, went to the Herald of all places. And the publisher of the paper, who was really big on sports, it being a pillar of the local community, he left. So two people came in and they didn't share the same feelings that he felt. And the circulation dropped incredibly over the next year. And so it got to the point where, the bean counters were looking at it, say, hey, we're gonna have to do something, which, in this business means layoffs.
Hmm.
So I'm not thinking anything of it. I actually got a phone call from a deputy manager saying, I know people are concerned that your job is safe here. So I'm figuring, well, all right. So 3 nights later, it's a funny story now, but it wasn't funny that night. I I go to cover the Walpole Boosters banquet, and I wind up getting an award from the Boosters, Distinguished Service Award. So I was there actually covering the event for the transcript. So on the way back, being the good Samaritan that I am, I call up, says, I'm doing a coffee run on the way in. Does anyone want any coffee? So everyone said, "No, we're good, we're good." So I get there, I park the car, I see the two sports editors because we were at that time, the building we were at was in Dedham. It was the Dedham Transcript and the Waltham News Tribune. So what happened is, both sports editors were out, great guys, and they were put in a bad situation. So they come over to me. I said, they go, "We have bad news." The first thing I thought of was we had an old time writer there, Frank Wall, who was a legend in the community. He had had some health woes. So the first thing I'm thinking, oh God, did something happen to him? It turned out they were telling me that I was getting the pink slip. So I'm like, really? I said, well, it is what it is. I, drove off, went home. The publisher called me up. My Italian came out a little bit there. I get a little surly there. We'll keep the language clean. But basically, for lack of better words, I said, what happened tonight, you basically put lipstick on a pig, for lack of better words. The people upstairs, they're gonna find out down the road. The problem wasn't with the people you let go today, it's with the people who are still there now.
Hmm.
And it turned out 6 months later, the new publisher and that lady who called me both got fired. But what happened though, in the meanwhile, is my boss Hank, who had went to the Herald. I called him up, told him what happened. He says, geez, that's terrible. He says, I don't know if there's anything here at the Herald, but I'll sniff around. There was a weekly paper out of Westwood. I was friendly with the sports editor. He found out. He called me the next day. He says, "Look, if you're looking for writing, I need a writer. Come on over." So I mean, I got scooped up right away. I actually wound up making more money there than I did at the transcript. But what happened? I went to the Herald. So the Herald calls me. The big boss at the time was Bob Sales. Calls me up, says, "Look, I heard what happened to you. It's a crappy way of, people. It's part of the business. If you want to come in, I'd love to sit and talk with you." So I drove in, sat for an hour. He says, "I don't have anything. If anything, even," he goes, "Are you interested?" I said, "I just want to get in the door. I don't care what it is." I mean,
Hmm.
I was swept floors at the time. So I get a call 3 months later, says, "Look, I have a part-time job here. It does not involve writing." I said, "Well, what's it?" He goes, "It's agate shift. It's 7 to 3 Saturday and Sundays. It's just, putting the score pay, the scores, the standings, the box scores and all that less than glorious stuff." I said, "I'm in."
Yeah, that doesn't even
So
sound bad to start.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
the way I looked at it, my foot's in the door.
Hmm.
He said, "Look, there may be an occasional chance you might get a writing shift here and there." Says, "I can't tell you it's going to happen often, but I said, "Well, whatever it happens, I'm there." And I wound up, little by little, the one thing I tell people, the worst thing you can do is say no in this business,
Hmm.
because the more you say no, the less time the opportunity will knock. So I wound up, getting, assignments that probably other people didn't want to do. State gymnastics. I knew nothing about gymnastics, but
Yeah.
hey, it was a byline. And you know what? I did that, covered swimming, did a lot of little stuff. And it was tough because it probably cost me a marriage because it's the hours aren't good. It's just a lot of, and I was working 3 jobs at the time.
Wow.
So little by little, I wound up getting a 30-hour position at the Herald. And then the big break for me came was in 96. Bob Holmes, who was the sports editor at the Herald, great guy, went to the Globe. So Stephanie Tenera was his assistant. So I was going to go for both jobs. I figured, by process, they were going to move Stephanie up. She had earned her,
Hmm.
the right to be moved up. So she got his job. I wound up getting her job. So basically, I was a full time, that was my start as a full time Herald High School reporter. And it worked out fantastic because from there, I wound up getting other stuff. This football team called the Patriots all of a sudden became an NFL team.
Yeah.
They've been bad for so long, and
They
all
became
people,
relevant.
yeah, people, like my nephews and nieces, they're in their 20s, and all they remember is just, they've had 2 bad years. They don't realize that, they were a laughing stock for 40 years.
Yeah.
They got the glory days. So I got the opportunity. They sent me over here and there covering the Patriots, and before you know it, I'm in New Orleans covering, for the Super Bowl.
Oh, the first Super Bowl. Yeah, I was a kid
Yeah, the
then.
first one they
Yeah.
won. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was just,
Yeah.
it's like it was unbelievable. It's just, it's just going back to opportunity. Don't say no. And it's just, a great experience. And just gradually, Stephanie left. Jim Clark moved into her position. I kept mine, which I really wanted. And then, what happened is Jim did it for like 3 years, and then there was a desk position that I think he really wanted. So he took that job, and they basically pulled me in and said, "Look, yeah, I know you don't want to do it, but we need you to be the high school sports editor." So it's like, I said I would prefer to keep my current position as is,
Hmm.
but they basically gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. They said, "No, you can't do that." So it is what it is. So I became the high school sports editor, say probably about 12 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've been in this role for the past 12 years. A couple of years ago when the Herald went bankrupt and and Alden Capital bought the company, I wound up getting I did get a promotion. I did get, a nice raise, which shocked me, but and a nice title. So
No,
technically,
that's
I'm
good.
the regional director of high school sports for Alden. So
No,
yeah,
that's great.
yeah, for digital media. Yeah. So I mean, it's been a good ride.
I mean, what's been like the ups and downs of the industry lately? Because as I look, obviously, I got a little journalism background. I've spoken to you in the past. A lot of stuff pay per article, so it's like with the time and driving, to it, and then obviously
It, it's
doing it at
awful.
home. Yeah, it's been kind of tough. I've been through that, and I'm like, it's hard to say no, but it's like you go into the game for 3, 4 hours, then I got to come home right. And it's like, different. It's like it's a balance. And I'm not
No,
trying to
I mean,
dog the industry, but it's like,
yeah,
damn, it's
no, I
hard.
mean, for lack of, it sucks. I
Yeah.
mean, it's brutal, and even I mean, I'm very blessed. I have a group of guys who've been there for a long time. They kind of get the drill.
Hmm.
I try to situate them so that if one of my guys is in Falmouth, I'm not going to send him up to Haverhill.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
No, that
think so.
makes sense.
I try to regionalize as much as I can. Every so often, there's a time where they may have to bite the bullet, but I try to make it work. I make sure that they get mileage. The
Oh, that's
paper's not
good. Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
that's
They're
good.
not
Yeah.
crazy about it, but to me, the way I'm not going to send a reporter somewhere where they're almost taking a net loss to cover the event for us.
Yeah,
But
no, I hear
what
you
you
on
said
that.
is absolutely, you're
And I'm
absolutely
not
right.
dogging the industry. It's like the little
No,
I've
no,
done for
you're
like
absolutely
papers and
right.
stuff. It's like,
Oh,
damn, I'm gonna
you know,
pay 50, $70. Cool in the end, but then it's like I'm driving to Rhode
and it's
Island, I'm driving to New Bedford, let's say, and it's
and the
like,
gas and the cost of gas nowadays.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You're gonna get $60 to cover something, but then you've got to put 40 into your tank, so it's $20. So if you're working 5 hours, you're making $4 an hour. It's like
That's what I'm
you're better
saying.
off.
Yeah.
No, it's an extreme. It's really gotten a lot tougher the last few years.
Hmm.
I mean, newspaper circulations have gone down, and they're not. I don't see them getting any better anytime soon. So,
Hmm.
I mean, the newspaper industry is really, they're almost to the point where they're relying on online sales. Now, I'm an old school guy. I need my newspaper. I actually went out this morning, spent my 450 to buy the Herald,
There you
which I
go.
which I catch a lot of crap for at the corner store. The old
Yeah.
timers scream at me about it. I said, look, I'm buying it too. But it's you
450.
work for the
Wow. How
pay.
much was it
Yeah.
back then? Like cents, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe a buck. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
I was less than a buck when I
Less
first,
than a
but I
buck,
mean,
yeah.
it's tough. I mean, to ask people to spend 450 a day for a newspaper, that's not happening.
Yeah, that's
I don't
rarely you
blame
see
them. I
people
don't
buying that.
blame them. No. But believe me, I hear about it.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but the way the world is now, Danny, everybody's got to make a buck, and then let's say,
Yeah,
like, example, like you go to the Globe website, and obviously I've talked to Chris Price. You probably know him personally too.
sure.
Super nice
This is a
guy.
great guy. Very
Yeah,
nice guy.
Chris is awesome. Like, I want to go read some of his stuff or whatever. It's like, hey, you got to like subscribe or like pitch in a buck, and it's like, hey, I just want to read some of the stuff online. Like, I don't want to just pay every time I want to view it, but I understand they got to make their money too.
Yeah, no, I mean, and to me, I mean, some people say, "Oh, he's whining, he's this." No, you're not wrong at all.
Yeah.
I mean, as an guy in the old, to me, I'm almost, I can't tell people to go subscribe to the paper. I don't feel
Hmm.
that it's right because for some people, it's a drop in the hat. But for other people, no, they have, they're not financially to this point. They have other more pressing needs than subscribing to a newspaper,
Hmm.
and I totally get it.
Yeah, no, no, I understand it. And another thing, staying on the high school topic, I'm curious why a lot of papers don't have like a full-time like staff. It's a bunch of stringers or guys get paid or women get paid per article. If you could explain that, why it's always kind of been like that freelance per article
I mean,
work.
when I first got to the Herald in 1990, Bob
Excuse
Holmes
me.
was the high school sports editor. He had two full-time assistants,
Yeah, okay. All right.
which I mean it was pretty good. And then
Yeah.
when gradually they knocked one of them off, so it became one. And when I took the job, the fool that I am, I didn't push for an assistant. So I basically have done two full-time jobs. And I know people are gonna say, "Oh, you're only doing sports," and I get it. That's fine.
No,
My
it's still
father,
a lot.
my father who dug ditches for 50 years, I wouldn't get any sympathy from him.
Hmm.
But it is what it is. No, I mean it's frustrating because a lot of the papers, there is that thing. Well, it's only high schools, but people don't
There's a
understand.
lot of
A
high
lot of
schools in
people love.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
I mean, I say I tell one of my bosses a few years back said, well, the high schools. I said, well, go tell one of these parents it's only high schools.
Yeah, they'd be pissed. I agree with them.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, That being said, I mean, we're fortunate in that they do give us a budget which allows us to cover a lot of stuff. Now it is freelancers,
Yeah.
but I mean, I talk to people at some of the smaller full-time papers, and they're cringing to get, they can't get people at all.
Yeah.
And
I reach
which
out to
is
people
fair.
like that and it's like they don't want to pay. It's like they want to start you low, they want you to
Yeah,
freelance, and I'm like, hey, like that doesn't make the bills right now with a family,
no,
so,
exactly. I mean,
you know.
at the end of the day, I mean, that's the bottom line. It's a really tough business. I mean, the online thing is really it's been a game changer.
And then with the Herald, I don't think you have to subscribe, right? We can just go online, bostonherald.com, and then you can
There
just
are
look up
some
any
you can get. There are
this
some
some.
you get free, and then there's some of them they put subscriber exclusive, which means they want you to pony up a few bucks.
Yeah,
Which
is usually the high school stuff subscriber, some of it.
some of them are,
Yeah.
some are not. And it's just, to me, I don't feel it's right for me to come up to you and say, "Hey, you want to read my article? Then pay, get on there and subscribe."
hmm
I won't do it, and that's something I don't feel I should be doing.
hmm And then
To me,
usually,
if you want to do it, you should want to do it.
yeah, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
how's your schedule usually work being in your position? Like, are you mostly like nights? Because obviously the games are happening at like 3:30, 4 o'clock after school.
I mean, if you ask my wife, who's not here right now, the job is 24/7.
Yeah, basically what it
Yeah,
is.
I mean, it is, there is a lot of work, but you know what? It's what you sign up for when you get in
hmm
this business. It's not a normal, if you're looking for a 9 to 5 job, this is
No, it's
not the
not
business
that.
for you.
Yeah.
There are going to be weeks where you're going to work 70 hours. I mean, the state tournaments start next week.
Yeah.
You're probably, I'll spend like 2 hours in the morning alone just putting together the schedules and stuff. Then you got the nights where all the stories are coming in.
hmm
So, it's a lot of work, but hey, it's what you sign up for.
Between you and your freelancers, how many, men and women do you have on your staff working for you?
Right now I have 15.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
that's pretty that's
which
pretty
is
good.
not
Yeah.
bad.
No,
It's
that's
not
pretty
bad.
good.
I've got a good, I got a core of about 10 people who've been with me from 8 to 25 years.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Stick with you
I
8 to
I
25
I
years.
I, equi- I attribute it to my good looks why they stay around.
Yeah. Hey, that's
But I
always a
mean,
good thing, right?
I'm very lucky because I hear other papers and you hear the horror stories. Guys don't want to hack it, but in my case, a lot of the guys I have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So this is a second job.
hmm
So in that regard, I've been pretty fortunate there.
And then you I should say you're the only like full-time person in your
I
department.
am the
Yeah.
only full-time person. Yeah.
It's understandable. I know it's just tough to hear because it's like, damn, you got
Oh,
15
I'm
people.
sure it's
It
depressing.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
in 1990 there were tons of opportunities, and those opportunities, unfortunately, are not there anymore in this business.
Because it's so online based now. Because I've seen that, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
like subscribe this and that. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of the papers. Obviously, Mass Live got started. Forget how many years ago. That's another site, but they're not a
Right.
paper. But how's basically going on the pro topic? How's the pro coverage there? Because I know I've talked to Max Cirillo. I've had him on my podcast. He does a
Yeah.
great job covering the Sox,
Yes, he
but
does. I mean, they've certainly cut back. I mean, a hockey beat is one guy, Steve Conroy. There used to be two.
too,
So
yeah,
it's tough. He's basically during the season, he's working 7 days.
yeah.
The
Whenever the
basketball
games are on.
beat, yeah, the basketball beat is one guy. Baseball, we have two, and
hmm
football, we have two. And we don't have a college writer anymore.
Really? So you guys don't really
Yeah,
cover much of the co like whoever covers
very limited.
colleges.
So a
Yeah.
lot of in the Herald, a lot of his AP, or if there's a guy that's one of the beat guys, if they have a couple of days off, they may pick up something.
hmm Yeah, that makes sense. That's just tough. I just can't believe
Oh,
the industry is just kind of going completely down because people still, there's probably people like yourself. I haven't really read a newspaper in God knows how long, but I know when championships come out, I'm first one to just buy it because I'm like, oh, I like to collect these. But
yeah.
there's probably still a lot of like older folks that want to read the paper, don't want to go online because they're not so tech savvy, but it's out there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly like you said. I'm one of the old school guys. I like the
hmm
newspaper in my hand.
There's nothing wrong
Get
with that.
no. Well, I mean, other than paying 450 a
Yeah,
day.
yeah, I know. Damn, 450. Holy crap. Pretty
Yeah, I
soon it's
mean,
gonna be
yeah,
like $5, $6 right around the corner.
yeah. But I mean, it's just it's tough. it's really tough.
And then usually, I mean, staying on that, like, what do you guys get out of like the 450 basically? Like the company, like, do they make any profit on it or do you know anything about that? I'm just
Well, my
curious.
thing is, I mean, the way I look at it is we all work. We don't have an office anymore, so there's no overhead there.
All right, so you guys have to work from home basically?
Yeah, which I mean, to me, has been
That's not
great
bad.
because
Yeah.
I mean, for a lot, I mean, I probably saved me half of my staff because in the until COVID, we
Hmm.
had an office, and the guys would have to come into the office to take the scores at night. But now, ever since COVID, everything is done. The coaches email their scores in,
Hmm.
so the guys were able to do this from home,
Yeah.
which basically, because I know for a fact I would have probably lost three or four people
Hmm.
who said, it's becoming a pain in the neck to drive into the office, especially if they lived on the North Shore.
Yeah.
Our
Hmm.
last office was in Braintree. So for a couple of these guys, you're talking almost
It's
an
a little
hour
bit of a
commute.
drive, yeah.
Yeah. So by being able to, just get on, log on at 5:30, and be able to do it from their kitchen table, living room, or whatever, has been a blessing for us.
Hmm. And you just have a certain staff that does that or they cover games too? Like everybody kind of just
I mean,
helps.
some of my guys, do a little of both. I have three or four people who only do, the school roundups and the computer stuff, which is
Hmm.
what they wanted. I have a couple of guys who do a little of both, and I have a couple of people who just basically write. They
Yeah.
may get like one writing shift a week, and that's all, and they're fine with that.
Hmm. Yeah, some people are just content with just that one game
Yeah,
or
because
whatever it
they
is.
have full-time gigs. So
With your staff, going back to your staff, has the people that have stuck on like hoping for full time at some point, or are they just content with their full time and this is just more of a
I
side
would
hustle
say that
passion
I would
type of thing?
I would say there's probably two or three of them who've been there for a while who are hoping that something breaks.
Hmm.
Maybe they're hoping I break.
Oh no, geez. Oh no, come on, that's not right.
But there are a couple of people who just going along to get along, and they're fine with what they have.
Hmm.
I mean, for me, if I was in there, I'd be frustrated, sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because it's, I try to be honest with everyone. I tell them, I said, there's probably not much of a road to a full-time position here, unless,
Hmm.
one of the pro jobs open up.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's a good resume builder to get up to the pro jobs,
Yeah,
but it's
that's the biggest thing. You're building a resume, but what are you
mhm.
building the resume for? You
Yeah.
see a lot of these smaller papers are going by the wayside now.
Hmm. And the pro jobs rarely basically
No,
open up because everybody covers them and who wouldn't want to work in a Boston market with all the four teams that
yeah.
are
I
once
mean,
they're good, you know?
yeah, I mean, you look at, other than Steve Conroy, who's probably in his late 50s, the rest of they're all the guys in Gabrielle, they're
Hmm.
probably, in their
20s,
30s. So,
30s. Yeah, I think Max in
yeah,
his
so
early 30s, he's told
unless
me.
they've, and they're all from the area. So unless, the Globe comes knocking or, one of the major outlets like, whether it's an ESPN to get a gig an on-air gig, I mean, they're
Hmm.
probably going to be here for a while.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad. I figured the Herald, the Globe, I'm like, it's a knowledgeable, known paper. Like it's not like you're working at some rinky-dink small little paper that nobody knows about or barely
Right.
like reads about it. But I mean, no, I'm glad for all the people that are actually doing it and, successful at it because it's hard. I mean, I
Yeah.
wish my writing was better. It's very
We all
lackadaisical
we all
sometimes.
do. I feel the same way every time I write. So
Yeah. And then you guys have deadlines too, right? Because I've done that in the past where you got to meet like a 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock deadline after a 7 o'clock
Ours are a
game.
little, yeah, ours are, sometimes the bosses don't understand, they want
It's
stuff in by
tough.
9.
Yeah,
And I
it's
tell them, I
tough.
said, listen, game start, 6:30 starts for high school isn't always 6:30.
No,
6:30
yeah.
is usually quarter of 7,
Hmm.
so you're pushing the envelope a little too much and they don't always get it. And
Well,
at the end of
basically, you got to write during the game. Like, you got to bring your laptop
yeah,
with you and basically do it and
yeah,
hope to get it done by 9 o'clock.
yep.
I know it's
I
frustrating.
mean, I
I
feel for the younger people.
yeah.
I have great empathy for people such as yourself who, have a passion and want to do it.
Hmm.
All you want is an opportunity. And unfortunately, the opportunities in this business, are getting fewer and far in between, which stinks.
Yeah, I know. It's very frustrating. It kind of
Yeah.
blows my mind how they don't have at least 4 to 5 full times with the editor yourself. Let's say in your case or any paper's
Oh,
case, like,
I would love to. But if
four or
I
five
had that,
full-time
I'd
people.
probably work till I was 100.
Yeah, because you got the extra set of hands. I mean,
Yeah,
granted, you
I mean
got
it's
the 15 people, but they're not all full-time people. I mean,
right.
what was it like that back in the day though? Like it would be like the high school editor, the assistant, and like a handful of people, or was it like just only
It would
like two
be
or three
we'd still have the core group of about 12 to 15 people, but they were all part-timers.
part-time? Yeah.
I mean,
So,
but having that extra full-timer, because you could, your assistant, hey, I need a day off just to friggin' decompress. And
hmm
you have somebody in there who can do it. Now there's nobody here.
yeah. No, that's definitely frustrating for everybody.
Yeah.
But I know you mentioned the tournament. What's been going on in the basketball scene in the Boston area? I know things have been
Yesterday we
happening,
had a
boys
yeah,
and
we had our
girls.
city. Yeah, we had the city, which is big in the Boston area. The Boston City League had their championships yesterday. The Holland School, which is probably the best of, probably the one school in the city that's got a shot to do some serious damage in the tournament.
hmm
They won the boys championship. The girls, they were not as strong as they've been in the past. O'Brien won the girls championship. I mean, I don't see any of the city girls making a long run. I mean, the boys, Holland is very, very good. They're probably a top 10 team in the state.
These are all D1 schools,
The Holland schools, no, they're Division Four.
Division Four. Okay.
So in our area, I mean,
I figured you guys cover from D1 to D4, whatever it goes
oh
up to,
yeah,
five or
well
six. Yeah.
up to five, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
five.
we cover them all. I mean, if you're looking at yeah, Newton North is probably they're Division One. They're probably of the teams close to Boston, Newton North and Malden Catholic, which is in Division Two. They're
hmm
they're the teams that probably have the best chance of the schools close to Boston to make some noise in the postseason.
Is the championship going to be at UMass Lowell? Because I know the past, I think, couple of years it's been at UMass Lowell.
I believe so. I think there was one concern, if I'm not mistaken. I think the concern is if UMass Lowell hockey winds up going far or whatever, if they have to play there. But I think if everything goes according to form, the championships, the game plan is to hold them at UMass Lowell.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
curious what's up on the basketball landscape.
yeah.
Any thoughts on the Cape teams here, like Falmouth, Wareham,
Well, I mean, you look at Bourne. I mean, Bourne.
Bourne?
I think I mean they've been on the cusp the last couple of years. I think they're probably probably have as good a shot as anybody in basketball to do some serious damage. Wareham, won the last two, and I think they're down a little bit. I don't think they're quite as good as they've been. I would say Bourne is probably the team that's got the best shot of, maybe getting to UMass Lowell.
Yeah, basically because it was them and Wareham last year, and Wareham
Right.
actually came up on top. But
Yep.
how about even on the girls' side, like talking in the Cape
Well, I
area?
mean, I know St. John Paul is on quite a run. I think if I'm not mistaken, I thought I read somewhere they've won like 13 or 14 in
Wow.
a row. So I mean, they certainly a good Sandwich would have been a team that I think could have had a shot in the girls, but I guess they've had some injuries, which really sidetracked them a great deal, which is too bad because they had a good year last year, and I
hmm
know they had high hopes for the season, but I think two of their better players got hurt, so that kind of put them behind the eight ball a little bit.
Man, you know your stuff. You're right to the money on your
A little
stuff.
bit, a
Like
little bit.
this ain't your first rodeo, that's for sure.
Oh, that you got that right. I got the Spurs.
No, that's awesome though that you keep up
Yeah.
obviously on all kind of sports and even what else is going on right now? And hockey's over, right? I'm just trying to
Yeah,
think
well,
like high school.
hockey. I mean, next, the pairings come out on is tomorrow Saturday. I can't even
Yeah,
keep up.
tomorrow Saturday.
All
Yeah.
right, good. Thank you, thank
Yeah, no
you.
problem.
The pairings come out tomorrow for hockey and basketball. Yeah, wrestling. We're into the state tournaments this
hmm
weekend. Gymnastics. Sectionals are this weekend. Swimming. We have state finals on Saturday and
Wow, there's a lot
Sunday,
going on.
and then the meet of champions track is Saturday.
Oh, tomorrow then?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Because
If you
baseball and
say
softball
tomorrow's
are,
Saturday, then
yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it is.
But then you get into the spring, which is in about 3 weeks away.
Yep. Baseball,
Baseball,
softball,
softball, lacrosse,
lacrosse, yep.
tennis.
Hmm. Busy time. Before I let you
Sure
go,
is.
what's
Yep.
up with the summer? What usually happens to you guys in the summer? Just kind of, I know
Um, we
it's summer
usually I
vacation,
take
but
some of my vacation, most of my vacation I take in the summer. We do have,
mm,
there are a couple events. There's the 7-on-7 football that's gotten kind of big in the area. There are a couple of a couple of little tournaments that, keep us busy. But for the most part, it is a downtime for about 5 or 6 weeks until we start kicking into high gear with our preseason football.
yeah, you're usually doing that basically what end of July, beginning of August, kind of previewing the season because it starts
Yes,
like first week of September, usually football.
exactly. Yep.
But appreciate it, Danny. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope I didn't bore you.
No, you didn't. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, good luck with anything. If there's anything I can do, don't hesitate to holler. Hang in there. I know it's a tough business.
No, I appreciate it, Danny. Thank you so much.
All right, you take care.